This clip is brought to you by VegasWinners.com. Get expert sports betting advice from some of the best handicappers in the world. Head on over to VegasWinners.com and win yourself some money.
So, what did you think of Bill Watts as a performer? Did you ever, as a kid, see his stuff on TV?
I've seen, no, I didn't. But as years went on, I saw a lot of Bill's stuff from Florida and Georgia and of course the Mid-South. And Bill was a good worker.
Could you compare him to someone that some of our audience might be familiar with?
Probably like a hacksaw Jim Duggan, a big rugged guy that can wrestle. And that was Bill, but he liked to brawl and things of that nature. But he was someone that you could put pretty much anywhere, whether it be in a wrestling arena or an airport, and people are going to turn their heads and look at him because he looked like somebody.
So what's the rest of the story as far as you've heard it, according to the rumor and innuendo about Cowboy purchasing the territory from Leroy? You insinuated a minute ago that this is just rumor and innuendo, but the word is blah, 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 that he stole it. What were the particulars that you heard about that transaction that would have put Leroy maybe in the rearview mirror and Bill in the driver's seat?
Just that, Bill offered to buy it from him and that Bill offered him a price. Leroy agreed because Leroy was ready to get out of the business. And some people say that Bill never paid him any money or didn't pay him all the money that Leroy was earned, just went in and took over the territory. And took all Leroy's guys. So Leroy didn't have anybody to really help him anymore.
Is that the way Bosch laid it out to you?
That's just through the years, what you would hear from different talent and everything. And a lot of that's rumor and innuendo. I don't know. I don't know any of that to be true. I do know that Leroy was the owner at one time, and then Bill was the owner.
You've given us your opinion on quote unquote rumors before. Do you believe that one?
I believe the truth lies probably somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I would believe that Bill probably went to Leroy and said that I'd like to buy your territory. Maybe it fell apart in the middle, but Bill was already in it and got the territory.
Let's talk a little bit about just wrestling in that era, because I do think context is king, as our friend Eric Bischoff likes to say. A wrestler owning part of a territory is probably like the goal for a lot of the guys back in that day. Just with any other job, right? You're looking for a way to move up the ladder. You're looking for a way to get a promotion, so to speak. And this feels like, hey, I'm going to go from being the top star to the only place to go from there is being one of the owners. Here I am. That's the next logical step. That's the goal for a lot of guys in that era, right?
In order to stay in the business, yeah, I think so. And a lot of guys, it wasn't so much where you worked, it was how long you were able to work there.
Yeah.
So if you came into a territory and you got over really big and you could maintain and stay in that territory for many years, then that was good. Oh my God, I got to buy a house. Like Pat Patterson would tell me about San Francisco. Hey, he got there and after a year or so realized I'm staying here. And he got over and stayed there for 10, 12 years, however long he did, bought a big, beautiful house and was set. Short trips. And that would be the goal, I think, for a lot of guys.
Do you think becoming a quote unquote territory owner was the goal because A, they wanted to make more money, or B, they wanted to stop the travel, or C, they really just wanted to work less as far as the in-ring physicality?
Well, for a lot of them, their working days and taking bumps were over.
Yeah.
So if they had an opportunity, and again, these are all few and far between who ever get to realize
the dream of owning a territory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of them just aren't made up for it. Some of them are just made up to go out and do their match and come back and go to the next town. Other guys are made up for, hey, let's think about what we're going to do here for the next year. And who are some guys I know that could come in and pop this territory?
So Watts is going to rebrand the company as Mid-South Wrestling, and he That's something a lot of people probably were scratching their head about. He pulls out of the NWA. What'd you think of, let's take that step by step. What'd you think of Bill rebranding as Mid-South Wrestling?
I thought at the time, not the smartest move in the world. However, upon reflection, when you look back at it, it was brilliant. Because why should Bill get his guys and his talent in his territory, get them over, just to have one guy from a place with 3 letters come in and beat his guys, or have him go 90-minute Broadway or whatever you want to do? And Bill felt, he goes, I'll make my own champions. I'll make my talent worthy, and that they're the ones that are there every week. So that's who people are going to pay to see. And it just wasn't worth dealing with the NWA. The NWA was not an easy organization to work with either, especially in the 80s when they started switching from Mushnick, Atkinson to Geigel. It was a bouncing ball on who the president was in the NWA. It was not a very good run company. It just wasn't.
When do you think that whole transaction would have happened, if you will? Would that have been the late 70s? That's when Mid-South becomes a thing?
I believe it was late 70s, early 80.
Yeah. I was thinking like 79, 80, somewhere in there. But again, we're just freestyling today and letting you tell stories. But I am curious, with respect to the NWA, do you think that perhaps Bill saw the writing on the wall that the NWA, the way it had existed for years and years, was becoming more complicated? Less than a decade after this, it's not really a thing. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, do you think Cowboy saw the writing on the wall maybe before everybody else did?
I think that Cowboy looked at his business strategy and thought what was best for him as Bill Watts to create a champion, his North American champion, make that the main championship that people can see every week, versus taking a part of your television show and having to build up a guy who's only in the territory for one night. And your talent that you're stuck with year round gets beat or doesn't win. So when you go back and you think about that the attraction and the monopoly of the National Wrestling Alliance, that guys felt that they had to have the champion, and there were a lot of guys, and Bill used Roy Shire as someone that he looked up to and learned an awful lot from. Was a lot of the same mannerisms, but Roy didn't use the NWA champion. It's like, fuck them. Why should I pay them for a champion that comes in once a year?
Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe this is real, but we not only got a handicapper, but we got the best ever. How are you so good at handicapping these games? 4-0, that's quite a streak already.
Let's talk about every pick I've given this year in the NFL as an example. 23-8. Every pick I've given this year. 4 weeks in the bag, 23-8. There's nobody in the country that can match what I do, but I always make sure, because anybody, Conrad, could make up anything. They could tell you and blow smoke and tell you, oh, I'm the greatest. But I am independently monitored and documented, so nobody could ever question what I say and go, I don't believe it. I send every pick to an independent monitoring and documentation service that has to get the pick before the game goes off and then publishes it after the game goes off so anybody can see what I gave. But this is the best start I've ever had. I've never been this good to start a season. You don't win every week, 4 weeks in a row, everything you put out. It's been the kind of year I've had. So get on a hot streak, because when a guy's on a hot streak like me, you want to ride it. I've always had a talent for picking winners. Never quite as hot as I am right now, but I've always been very good at it. And I think it's because I do more homework than anybody else. The average guy or gal watching this podcast, they don't have time. They have a career, they have jobs. They might read the newspaper or go online and see something, but they don't have time 80 hours a week to study the games. That's what I do. And I have a crew of guys behind me, my consultants, who every week we get together 3 times a week and they throw their ideas at me. I throw my ideas at them. And then I pick the final 5 plays on Saturday and Sunday in college and pro football. I've got a great team behind me too, but we're all doing together hundreds of hours of homework. So you don't have to. It's all at vegaswinners.com.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to vegaswinners.com right now. Let's win some money. Ask. You just said, you referenced wins and losses. Like this guy's going to come in with 3 letters and he's going to beat our top guy. I understand that, but I do want to add some context here. Do you think wins and losses mattered more back then than they do now? And if so, what changed?
Really and truly, they probably didn't. It was just something that when you're building someone when it's time for them to lose, give it to one of your own stars. Give it to a guy you're going to be able to make money with next week and the week after and the week after. It's not about winning and losing. It's who you're winning and losing to. And just have a guy come in with no program other than a leather strap with some metal on it. It didn't do anything for your territories when you think about it in hindsight.
So even though Watts was not really keen on being a member of the NWA, he still booked the NWA champion. So he was getting the best of both worlds here. He can still have the NWA champ as an attraction, but maybe not have to be subjected to so many of the NWA rules.
Yeah, exactly. And Bill was able to do that and pull that off. Not everybody was, because not everybody wanted to. And Bill only did it for big shows and did it with guys that were not in a program at the time, a lot of the time.
What do you think Paul thought of Bill not being a part of the NWA?
Paul wasn't a part of the NWA at the time either. So Paul had been ostracized by the NWA years ago after the Harley race fiascos and Harley no-showing all those shows, and just the lack of support from Mushnick and Geigel and Atkinson that was the last straw. Broke the camel's back, and Paul was done.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.